Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my screenwriting process by breaking down one of my screenplays. So why don't we get to it? Alright, before we begin, I want to make it very clear. I'm not doing this video to teach you how to write screenplay or to teach you the screenwriting format. I'm just doing this to tell you about my process. And with that said, I also want to make sure that you know that everyone's process is always different. So this might work for you, it might not work for you. Take what helps you and what doesn't help you, leave it. And just, have fun, because after all, writing is about telling stories and having fun. So I have a very specific process that I learned from Kim Krizan, who I consider my mentor. I actually took her class a while ago, back when I was in college. For those of you that don't know her, Kim Krizan is an Oscar-nominated screenwriter. She was nominated in 2005, I believe, for Before Sunset. She really showed me the basics of how to sit down and just start writing. And I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through those steps. The very first step is to just grab a journal and get into the habit of writing 30 minutes a day. It doesn't matter what you write, you just gotta write it down without judging yourself. Whatever comes to your head, you just have to put it down on that journal and just close it and never look back at it again. It's a very, very, very different process. Not everyone knows about it, and the people that I've told, I don't know if they've actually tried it, but it works for me. Very early on, when I wanted to sit down and write a screenplay, I always came across the writer's block, which I now find as an excuse to tell yourself that you're not good enough to write. And here's the thing, everyone's good enough to write. If you've written a letter to your mother, or if you've written a letter to someone you had a crush on in high school, to a government official, or even a cover letter for a job, then you're a writer. Because even when you're writing a cover letter for employment, you're selling yourself and you're telling a story. I personally don't believe in writer's block just because I haven't had it in a very long time. Once I follow these steps, it really helped me. So maybe try these out and see if it helps you. And if it doesn't help you, like I said, everyone has a different process. Take what helps you. What doesn't help you, leave it behind. That's also part of evolving. Try to find what works for you and what doesn't work for you. The very first thing I do is when I come across an idea, I get a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, and I write it down. And it's research time. Literally, research. Looking online and finding either articles, books, magazines, newspapers, anything that can help me in regards to the subject matter that I'm working on. And I just read. I can't tell you specifically when I stop because it's always different. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year, it could be years. I mean, it's different for everybody. For me, I tend to just read a lot and just soak in all the information. And there's a point where I say, okay, you know what, this is enough. I think I'm ready to start writing. And that leads me to the second step. Once I've done all my research, I start writing. I don't do flashcards, I don't do outlines, I don't do storyboards. I don't start writing in my computer just yet. I actually start writing in a journal, and I have many of these. I only write 10 pages. That's it, 10 pages. And the reason why I do that is because as we develop our screenwriting craft and our process, we come across things that lead us to writer's block. This is a very important step in my writing process. The only reason why I only write 10 pages is because if I can't get past 10 pages, then it's probably not a story for me to tell. And I'm not saying ever, I'm just saying now. I'll give you an example. I recently moved to a new apartment, and while I was unpacking a bunch of boxes, I found all these journals and all these notes and a bunch of unfinished screenplays. And I started reading one of them that really drove my attention again. Little did I know I would end up writing an 8-episode series, which I just finished a couple days ago. Again, this is just something that works for me. And as I keep developing my screenwriting process, I found that every time I break a rule, it leads me to self-sabotage, because there's a reason why I keep these rules for myself. And I know at the beginning I said there's no rules or right formula, because there isn't. Everybody has their own rules and their own formula. And this is why you come together and you take what works for you and what doesn't work for you. At the end of the day, what's really important is how you tell your story and the things you need to do to get to that point. Now, if I'm able to get past 10 pages, this is when I finally get my computer. I open up a final draft file and I start writing. As you guys know, in my previous videos, I talked about how I'm used to writing a screenplay on a Wednesday and start shooting it on a Saturday. I still challenge myself to do that, but as I keep evolving, I also challenge myself to not have any unrealistic deadlines, just because it's not healthy. Going back to the very first thing about grabbing a journal and just writing down everything that's in your head, that really actually helps when you get to this process, because you put everything that's in your head in this journal. No one ever has to read this. You don't have to share this with anyone. This is just strictly for you. You don't even have to read it. The whole point of this journal is so you can just vomit everything that's in your head, so that when you're writing, you don't have these loose thoughts all over the place trying to take over your creative process. And believe me, it happens. But for me, I've been doing this for the past 5 years. it's a habit now. It's like my religion. It's like going to the gym. It's my muscle. I get my journal. I write for 30 minutes a day nonstop, 30 minutes exact. That's it. Set up your alarm, and I write down all my word vomit, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's something like cow, yellow, bad, moon. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Just put it all in that journal so that when you're in this process, nothing can stop you. I mean, and it's not like a medicine that's going to cure all the thoughts that are running through your head while you're being creative, but it does help so that you can concentrate on what's important, which is writing that screenplay. And again, I don't give myself deadlines unless I'm working with a third-party client or somebody hired me to write a screenplay, then that's completely different. But me personally, when I'm writing a screenplay that's for me, that I'm going to independently produce and direct, I don't give myself deadlines. To me, a deadline is when I feel that the screenplay is ready. And part of that is the rewrite process. I personally don't do them a lot, but when I do it a little bit different. So the way I do it is I close down my file and I open up a new blank one and I start writing the screenplay from scratch. And the way I do it is I just write everything that I remember. That's it. Whatever doesn't come back to that file doesn't belong in my story. Easy and simple. And it's actually very important that I follow this process because it's actually what leads me to my next step. To not judge myself. No one's gonna come and tell you that you're a badass writer. No one's gonna come and tell you that you're gonna win an Oscar or that you deserve one or that you're gonna get an agent or that you're gonna get into a festival until you believe that you will. Honestly, believe it or not, energy is a big thing. And if you walk into a room and you don't believe in yourself, no one is going to believe in you. It's important that you know that the story that you're writing is important. Not because I said it or because your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your mom or your manager or your agent or your colleague said it, but because you do wholeheartedly believe that that story is important. And the only way to get that point across is if you show your passion through confidence. Now, there's a big difference between being confident and being cocky. Don't be cocky. And I'm not going to explain to you the differences. You should know, but just keep in mind, you won't get anywhere if you don't believe in yourself. Seriously. You're the storyteller. Tell yourself the story. Tell yourself that you're gonna succeed. And when you tell yourself that story, create it in your head and believe it because it's very powerful. And nothing will happen until you actually believe that you can actually write that screenplay. Half of the time, screenwriters don't write anything because they're afraid or because once they do, they judge their work. And here's the thing, you can't judge your work. So stop judging yourself, stop judging your story, and just learn how to believe in your craft because your craft needs you. And when you put yourself down or when you put your craft down, instead of moving forward, you're taking 3 steps back. I'm not perfect. I still judge myself from time to time, but then I remember about my rules and I move forward because at the end of the day, the only thing we have in this world as artists is our creativity. And if we're stopping ourselves from being creative, then why are we even trying? There's a lot of no's out there for us already. Let's not support the idea that we can't succeed because the moment you stop believing that you can't succeed, then you won't. So I'll leave you guys with this. Learn how to love your craft, but most importantly, learn to believe in yourself because imagine what you can accomplish if you believed in yourself the same way you believe in others.